Mercedes dominated the hybrid era due to their incredible engineering team and alongside the once-in-a-generation talent of Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton has had some outstanding teammates along the way, who at times have pushed him to the absolute limits of his driving ability. This year though, everything changes. There are new cars, new spending limits, and the subject of today's video, a new partner for Lewis Hamilton. George Russell is Mercedes' hot new prospect, and he has what it takes to be Mercedes' #1 driver. Let's find out why. Hey Motorheads, glad to see you back on this racing track. Did you get road rage and need the scenic view of Formula 1 updates to relax? Then we're ready to drive you. So put on your seatbelts and join us as we chauffeur you through today's video. But before that, be the perfect speed freak by banging into the subscribe button. Alright, we're good to go. Since joining Mercedes in 2013, Lewis Hamilton has won 6 World Drivers' Championships and come second in 2. While he's been there, Mercedes have won the Constructors' Championship 7 times and come second once. So it's fair to say that in Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes, you have one of the most successful partnerships in Formula 1 history. The most successful drivers of all time have always had exceptional teammates beside them to help push them that extra few percent that makes a difference between good and great. There are a few examples from recent years that come to mind. Michael Schumacher had Rubens Barrichello as a partner from 2000 to 2004 when he won 5 straight World Drivers' Championships. Sebastian Vettel had Mark Webber as his wingman when he won 4 straight titles from 2010 to 2013. And Lewis has had some pretty decent partners himself. From 2013 to 2016 there was Nico Rosberg. The exceptional German driver was never best mates with Lewis Hamilton, but what he did do was push Lewis to the absolute edge. While racing together, Lewis won 2 World Drivers' Championships before Nico beat him in 2016. Nico retired then, saying he'd achieved everything he wanted to in winning an F1 championship. Then comes Valtteri Bottas. Famously demoted to wingman by Toto Wolff, his 2 second-place finishes and 2 third-place finishes while alongside Lewis Hamilton made sure the Brit was kept on his toes. Bottas played a much more supporting role compared to Nico Rosberg though. His attributes as a teammate shone through most when working alongside Lewis, collaborating for the good of the team. But now, George Russell is stepping up to the plate at Mercedes, and he has come out swinging. He's fired a warning at Lewis Hamilton, letting him know that he'll be in the hunt for podiums from the get-go this season. The Brit is out to prove his credentials as a potential F1 champion after making the step up from Williams for 2022. He has already performed admirably in his one previous opportunity in a car capable of running at the front. Russell stepped in to replace Hamilton at Mercedes for the Sakhir Grand Prix in 2010. And for a long time in the race, looks likely to secure his maiden F1 victory. But he was cruelly denied due to a pit stop error made by the team and a puncture which scuppered his chances of success. Still, it was a fine audition, and no doubt a reason behind the Silver Arrows choosing to replace Valtteri Bottas for the upcoming season. Russell has spoken of his ambitions in the past, made no secret of his beliefs that he can become a world champion. To do so against the likes of Lewis Hamilton and reigning champion Verstappen would be impressive, but he's still backing himself to do so. And he plans on making an early impression, targeting big points from his very first outing of the campaign. Asked in a video released by Mercedes sponsors Petronas when he believed he would get his first podium with the team, he simply replied, "Race 1, Bahrain Grand Prix." That's big talk from the young British racer, considering his only previous podium in Formula 1 was an unlikely second place after the Grand Prix was rained off at Spa. The weather had also affected the qualifying the day before, but Russell showed his skill and speed in the rain to qualify ahead of Hamilton and 18 other drivers. Despite being in an unfancied Williams car, he was so quick on that final flying lap that only Verstappen could better his time. But Russell has got history of being a winner. In 2017, he won the Formula 3 Drivers' Championship title in his 3rd season in the championship. He progressed to Formula 2 in 2018, winning his debut season in the championship by an astonishing margin. 7 race wins and 11 podiums gave him a winning margin of 68 points by the end of the season. That's not an easy thing to do. Formula 2 may not be as fast or well followed as Formula 1, but every driver on the F1 grid comes through that championship at some point, and it gets extremely competitive when places in the big leagues come up for grabs. There are recent examples of drivers following a very similar course to that of Russell. Charles Leclerc, with just 1 year of F1 experience at Sauber after his F2 title win, moved to Ferrari and immediately hit the ground running. He beat Sebastian Vettel in the Drivers' Championship standings in his debut year at the team. Vettel's a 4-time World Drivers' Championship winner, but despite his experience, Charles beat him by 24 points. Another example of the young beating the old in a Formula 1 is the driver that George Russell beat to win his F2 title, Lando Norris. George's former teammate Lando Norris is now racing at McLaren F1 team. He has dominated Daniel Ricciardo in the year they've been racing together. Daniel Ricciardo is no Lewis Hamilton, and don't worry, I'm not trying to say that. But he was in his 11th season of Formula 1 racing. With 2 third-place Drivers' Championship finishes in the past, he's undeniably a great driver. So George has got the experience of fighting at the top of the championship series. There are drivers before him who've gone on to beat their big-name teammates, and he has the self-belief necessary to win big races. But what do people within the sport think of George Russell's chances? George Russell will challenge and attack 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton in 2022, according to ex-Formula 1 racer Perry McCarthy. I think he's going to be tapping Lewis on the shoulder, I really do, McCarthy told Formula1News.co.uk. And the other thing is that, if Lewis has developed any chinks in his armour, because he does feel a little bit low, then George will be prying these open. He's going to be on the attack. Your absolute best scenario as a racing driver is to join a team where you've got an absolutely brilliant established star, the 60-year-old explained. And then your job is to beat him, because suddenly, if you've just jumped in and you're beating the guy that holds pretty much every record going, then you're looked at as being brilliant. If your teammate is dusting you every week, you're not looking that great. If you come in and dust your teammate, especially if he's a brilliant star, then your reputation is great. So that's clearly is exactly what George Russell is after. Perry McCarthy's Formula 1 career was short-lived, and he's probably best known for being the Stig on BBC's Top Gear. Someone whose career as an F1 driver has not been quite so short is Lewis Hamilton, and he had this to say about George Russell. As you know, George is a very respectful person. He is super talented, and there's already a lot of mutual respect. He'll certainly be quick and will want to win, said the 7-time world champion. I remember saying before the duel with Alonso that I wanted to beat him right in the first race. I expect George to feel the same and approach it with the same attitude. Otherwise, he wouldn't be a winner. We will, of course, compete against one another, and I want to win that duel. But I hope that I can also have a positive influence on how he develops in the team. For example, when it comes to spending time with the engineers, how he works his way through the data, or how he drives on the track. Lewis is right in what he says. He will be able to teach George a lot. Lewis is a serial winner and is never going to step aside to let a new driver through. What he will do, though, is show George how it's done when you're competing at the top. Williams have historically been a successful team, but in recent years that history has been fading away. They've forgotten what it takes to be the best and perform at the top of the sport. That's something George is going to have to learn at Mercedes. But under Lewis and Toto Wolff's tutelage, we're sure he'll pick it up quickly. Speaking of the Mercedes team principal Toto Wolff, in an interview with the Daily Mail, he said, "George Russell is another intelligent young man. He'll slot into the team, but that doesn't mean he has to hold back when driving. You can't expect a lion in the car and a puppy out of it. But there are boundaries within the team that must be respected, and George knows them very well. Once the lights are green, only the drivers are responsible. I can't interfere, manage, or remote control them. But one thing is of ultimate importance. Don't touch," said Wolff. Toto has obviously been listening to his namesake band too much, calling Russell a lion. But he does have a point. George Russell is going to be a lion on and off the track. If Mercedes manage to keep the balance between Lewis and George off the track, then the racing between the two of them is going to be electric, and might just be the story of the season. That's all for today's video. George Russell, the next Formula 1 superstar, or just another driver with far too much hype? Let us know in the comments section down below what you think. On your way out of our pit box, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and hit that notification bell to be sure you don't miss out on any of our content. Till we see you next time, drive safe and bye bye.